Okay, let's unpack this. The Sean Combs trial. I mean, the headlines are just screaming about explosive testimonies.
Yeah, and from what we've seen so far, explosive seems like the right word.
It really does. So today we're diving deep into just the first 2 days of this massive legal battle.
Right. The goal is really to cut through some of the noise, get a sense of the initial atmosphere in that courtroom.
And focus crucially on Cassie Ventura's testimony and its impact.
Exactly. What's interesting, I think, is how even the early details, before she even testified, sort of hinted at how serious this was all going to be.
You mean like the packed courtroom? The tension?
Yeah, that palpable sense of tension and just these visual things suggesting a really significant story was about to unfold.
Combs' arrival on day one was almost, a story in itself, wasn't it?
It really was, that crisp white sweater trying to project this neutral image.
But then you see his mother in the front row, tears, his daughter's looking so anxious.
Mm-hmm. And even that quick nod he gave his legal team, it felt, I don't know, loaded somehow.
So what do those first moments really tell us?
Well, I think they really underscore the human drama here. Beyond all the legal arguments, you got a family right there grappling with these huge accusations.
And the delay tactic. The defense apparently pushing back Cassie Ventura's testimony on day one when everyone expected it.
Right. That move, well, it just ratcheted up the suspense, didn't it?
Definitely created anticipation, made everyone lean in, wondering what was coming.
Yeah. And it wasn't just happening inside the court, was it? Social media just lit up.
Oh, completely. A total whirlwind. You had this split screen effect, Combs trying to be stoic.
While his family's distress was just so visible, people were picking apart every single detail.
What's the significance of that, though? That intense public reaction so early?
Well, it just shows how fast a narrative can form, in the public mind, even before the real substance, the evidence, comes out.
So those first images, the reactions, they can actually influence how people see things later.
Absolutely. They can frame how people interpret everything that follows.
Okay, so then came the prosecution. Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson. Her opening statement. Analysts called it shock and awe.
Mm-hmm. Painting this grim picture, as they put it. Manipulation, control, coercion, violence, trafficking, the works.
What's the impact of kicking off so strongly like that?
Well, it's about grabbing the jury immediately, right?
Yeah.
Setting out your core argument in the most powerful way possible.
Establishing the tone, making it clear just how serious they believe these allegations are.
Exactly. No ambiguity from their side from the get-go.
And then the first witnesses started. The former security guard, Israel Flores.
Right, that account from the LA hotel. Pretty chilling.
Combs in just a towel, Cassie Ventura apparently trembling, wanting to leave. What does that early testimony do for the prosecution's case?
It gives them an early first-hand story that sort of backs up their main theme, Control, Ventura's alleged fear, her distress.
Like laying down an initial piece of the puzzle?
Precisely. It's trying to show a pattern, maybe corroborate what's coming later.
And after him, the male escort, Daniel Phillip. His testimony, apparently audible gasps in the courtroom.
Yeah, describing being paid by Combs for encounters while Combs watched, and then Combs' daughter's leaving, looking visibly shaken.
Wow. Why is that specific testimony so significant, do you think?
Well, it adds another layer, another dimension to the allegations. It suggests, potentially, a pattern of behavior that could be seen as coercive or exploitative.
And the reaction, the daughter's leaving.
Yeah, that just highlights how deeply personal and, frankly, upsetting this testimony is for everyone involved.
It really does bring home the human side, the cost of all this, and those social media reactions you mentioned.
Right, like the comment about the gray hair photo versus the defense pointing to the family support.
It shows how differently people are processing the exact same information, doesn't it?
It really does. It just illustrates that subjectivity, especially in these really high-profile cases where people might already have opinions.
Or biases, yeah.
Exactly. And you see the defense trying to humanize Combs through his family, while the prosecution is laser-focused on the alleged victims.
Which brings us to that point made by legal analyst Tenny Geragos about potentially criminalizing private relationships, twisting them into trafficking.
Yeah, that's a really key potential defense angle. What's the core of that argument?
Essentially, it suggests the prosecution might be overreaching, applying these heavy trafficking laws to interactions that the defense will likely try to frame as, well, consensual.
Even if maybe unconventional or unhealthy.
Exactly. Consensual private interactions. It's a strategy, potentially, to plant reasonable doubt, to argue that whatever happened, it doesn't meet the very specific legal definition of trafficking under federal law.
Okay, that makes sense. A crucial distinction for them to make.
And that leads us right into day 2. All eyes on Cassie Ventura.
The anticipation must have been immense.
And by all accounts, her testimony, well, it delivered what people were expecting. Explosive evidence is the term being used.
And it seems to have the defense genuinely concerned. What makes her testimony so absolutely central here?
She's the key accuser, right? Her direct story is the prosecution's foundation.
It's the backbone of their case. Her personal narrative of the alleged abuse, the control, the coercion, that's what they need to prove.
And the fact she testified while visibly pregnant, that adds another layer, doesn't it?
It certainly adds a visual element of vulnerability, yeah.
And the specifics she alleged, just shocking. Years of alleged abuse, control, being coerced into, well, disturbing sexual act.
And that particularly graphic detail. Combs allegedly urinating on her, her struggling to breathe. I mean...
What's the impact of details like that so specific and disturbing on a jury?
Well, they're intended to shock, obviously, and disgust, to really hammer home the alleged power imbalance, the humiliation.
To create a visceral reaction.
Exactly, and reinforce the prosecution's whole picture of the defendant's alleged behavior.
She also talked about an alleged sexual assault in 2018 after they broke up, even though she said no and was crying.
Right. That detail potentially underscores the alleged lack of consent, the control continuing even after the relationship officially ended.
And the other alleged incident, dangling her friend over a balcony railing.
That suggests, if true, a broader pattern, right? Alleged violence and intimidation reaching beyond just his relationship with Ventura herself.
We heard the courtroom reacted pretty strongly during her testimony. Visible discomfort, shock.
Disgust, yeah. Her attorney called it powerful, highlighting her courage.
From a legal standpoint, why is her account seen as so significant? Especially given her previous lawsuit, the federal investigation.
Well, that history lends weight, doesn't it? The prior lawsuit, the Fed investigation. It suggests her story has been consistent over time, across different contexts.
Which could boost her credibility with the jury.
Potentially, yes. It makes it harder to paint it as something she just came up with recently.
Then the prosecution showed that security footage, allegedly Combs assaulting Ventura in that LA hotel back in 2016.
And the defense objected, but the judge allowed it. Why is video evidence like that so critical? Oh, video can be incredibly powerful for a jury. It's visual corroboration.
More persuasive than just words.
Often, yes. It feels more objective, like a direct record of what happened, assuming it clearly shows what the prosecution claims it shows.
And then that really dramatic moment, Ventura revealing Combs' alleged threats against Kid Cutie.
Yeah, claiming Combs warned her Cutie's car would be blown up.
And the really eerie part, Cutie's car did later explode. What does that add?
Well, it adds this really chilling element, doesn't it, of alleged intimidation, maybe having real-world dangerous consequences. It really ramps up the narrative of control and fear.
Ventura finished her testimony, reportedly, by saying she wanted to free herself from shame and guilt.
Ending on such a personal note, what's the significance there?
It humanizes her, I think. Frames her decision to testify as, like, a personal liberation. It's an attempt to connect with the jury emotionally, beyond just the facts.
Makes sense. Now, throughout all this, people were watching Combs. His reaction.
Right. Stiff posture, tense, shaking his head sometimes, whispering to his lawyers.
Serious expressions, avoiding eye contact, subtle things like a tightened jaw or furrowed brow. Maybe restlessness. What can we actually read into that?
Well, you have to be careful, obviously. Body language isn't hard evidence, but it contributes to the jury's overall impression.
So the tenseness, the head shaking, might suggest he disagrees or is uncomfortable.
Maybe. The avoiding eye contact could be interpreted lots of ways. Nerves, maybe? Or just not wanting to look at his accuser. It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah, impossible to know. But legal analysts seem pretty united on how important Ventura's testimony is.
They do, saying it really strengthens the prosecution's case, establishes that narrative of coercion and abuse quite powerfully.
What's the key reason it's seen as so impactful?
I think it's her detailed personal account combined with the potential corroboration, like the video. It creates this strong story that directly hits the charges. It provides the human face, the specific details they need.
But there are always other perspectives. Some experts think the defense will hit hard on her credibility, right? Timeline issues, motivation.
Absolutely. What angles might they take there?
Well, they'll likely scrutinize any inconsistency, however small, between her statements now and anything she might have said before.
Question the timing. Why now?
Exactly. Suggest other motivations, maybe financial gain, maybe influence from others involved, anything to cast doubt on her reasons for testifying.
And we heard one expert say pairing her testimony with that video evidence. That's a powerful 1-2 punch for the prosecution.
Why is that combo so effective?
Because when you have someone telling a story and then you see video that seems to back it up, it just makes the story feel much more solid, more believable.
Right, it makes it harder for the defense to just say she's misremembering or making things up.
Then there's the trafficking charge itself. Another analyst pointed out it's complex to prove under federal law.
And suggested the defense might argue this looks more like domestic abuse, which is legally different.
What's the core difference they might focus on?
The legal definitions. Trafficking usually requires proving someone was compelled or tricked into commercial sex acts through force, fraud, or coercion.
Okay.
So the defense might say, look, these alleged actions, even if abusive, happened within a personal relationship and don't meet that specific trafficking threshold. It's a different category of wrongdoing, perhaps.
Got it. A legal distinction they'll try to exploit.
And we also got reports about the jury's reactions during her testimony.
Yeah, varied it sounds like. Some looked really focused, others maybe more neutral, but visible unease during the graphic parts.
Exchanging glances, taking notes. How do we even begin to interpret juror reactions?
It's notoriously difficult, isn't it? Unease during graphic testimony might mean they're taking it seriously, but you can't be sure.
And being neutral doesn't mean they're not engaged. Taking notes definitely shows they're processing it.
But their real interpretation, we won't know that until deliberations. And it could completely shift during cross-examination.
Which brings us to the defense's next move. Their strategy, as we discussed, is likely to scrutinize those inconsistencies.
And argue that even if things happened, it's not legally trafficking. That cross-examination, it's going to be absolutely critical.
No question. That's the defense's chance to punch holes in her story, challenge her account, and try to weaken that prosecution narrative. It'll be intense.
So yeah, with Cassie Ventura still on the stand, potentially, this trial is undeniably a major celebrity legal battle. It really makes you wonder how the defense will approach that cross-examination.
What specific parts of her story do you think they'll zero in on?
And thinking about just these first 2 days, what are your initial thoughts on, the complexities of trying to find justice in a case this public, this charged?
That's a great question for you, the listener, to consider too. Having heard about the atmosphere, the emotions, the initial arguments, what stands out most to you from these first couple of days?
Yeah, what questions do you have about how the rest of this trial might play out?
We definitely want to hear what you're thinking. Let us know in the comments.
And if you found this deep dive helpful, please give us a like. Make sure you stay subscribed, because this is where we'll keep bringing you updates as this case develops.
Yeah, we'll be following it closely, bringing more analysis as things happen. So please join us for our next deep dive.
And as you think about all this, just consider the incredible weight that testimony carries in court and, well, the often difficult path to figuring out truth and justice, especially when the whole world is watching.